Welcome to Branching Out, a podcast of best practices and lessons learned for city leaders everywhere, from Farmers Branch, Texas, on the northwest side of Dallas and just a little ahead of the curve. Now, here's your host, Jeff Brady.
Hello, everyone, from our Farmers Branch studio, and welcome to our inaugural episode of Branching Out. This is a podcast that's focused on ideas and solutions for city managers and leaders at all levels. And so in each episode, we're going to spend just a few minutes offering tips and tactics to address big issues. They're practical and they're proven. And we hope you might be inspired with an idea that suits your city or organization. And what a fantastic topic we have for our first edition.
Yes.
Couldn't have picked a better topic. We're going to talk about building a culture of servant leadership with our Farmers Branch Fire Chief Daniel Latimer and Assistant Chief Shannon Langford. So guys, thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Now, how about the studio, huh?
Oh, this is fantastic.
You didn't know we had something like this in Farmers Branch, did you?
I had no idea. I don't know if I'm going back to the office. I think Shane and I are going to stay here.
You may just stay here.
I think so.
You may decide you like it better. But before we get started, there's been some talk among our staff, and we just want to ask a burning question.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Need a rim shot there. Can we bring a rim shot in? What's the deal with, I don't know if it's testosterone or just the culture, but there is something with the Farmers Branch Fire Department that involves a lot of facial hair.
Oh, yeah.
And we got some pictures here. So can we take a look at these? These are some pictures that were sent in. Now look at that. Look at the curls.
That is fantastic.
That's
a good one.
real. That's not a paste on. And there's look another one, not to be outdone.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. And then this last guy, I mean, is that real?
That has life.
Did he really do
there's
that?
life in that one.
Is there something growing underneath? How does he eat with that? I don't even know.
A lot of fertilizer growing that.
So you guys are clean shaven, but what is this? This is something that happens in November.
That
right?
is, it's a no shave November that we do as a department. We started having fun with it. So we had Wendy Kempton, and she helped us. She does our social media, and she helped us start having this challenge. Who had the best mustaches?
Yeah.
I think some of the wives are not happy about this.
Well,
but yeah, it's been really good.
They put up with it.
The best mustaches in the fire service at Farmers Branch, no doubt.
And Movember is a nationwide. It's a men's health awareness
that is
program.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So no, we're talking about servant leadership today, and honestly, as both of you know, servant leadership is one of those phrases that's frankly probably overused, right? I mean, so everybody talks about it, mentions it. It might be a politician, it might be a CEO, it might be Boy Scouts, or faith leaders. And so there's nothing wrong with it, but it seems like everybody throws it around and they may not take it to heart.
I totally agree with you. It definitely is a phrase that's been coined by several people.
Everybody wants to use it. And so we went out on the streets of Farmers Branch just a few days ago, and we got a cross-section of people asking them, how do you define servant leadership? And here's what they said.
Servant leadership. The name is servant, so that means they serve the community.
But their leadership role is defined by serving those within that organization or community, and that is the major, aspect of that particular role.
I've never heard it besides right till now, so it doesn't really feel anything really.
It's a leader who's actually going to do it as opposed to just tell you to do it. I wouldn't ask you to do something I couldn't do myself.
Someone, I would say a leader who goes out of the way to help any way they can the people that they're supposed to lead, help them do their job or anything like that, really.
It's those that put the people first. It's actually those who develop the people to be the best they can be. So they are all about people, more than to the mission.
The biggest definition for servant leadership is replacing the word I with we. And that way the leader or the captain or the chief owns that program and owns that crew and owns that shift, and you all play an integral part in the outcome of the day.
And the real servanthood stuff works out when it comes from the heart, because now you're motivated to do something by taking time to spend it with others. Then finally you stop realizing you're even being a servant, because it's what you do. It's what you do with your hands and your feet all day long.
Servant leadership allows us to build a program from the bottom. When we bring people in, we recruit people that we want, that we see the servant leadership potential in. We put that servant leadership into them and allowing them to make decisions and to grow. And that makes us a better organization, not only now, but in the future. And that way, this ball just keeps rolling and getting bigger and bigger and better as we go.
There you go.
Okay. So, speaking of facial hair, I mean, we just saw, you know Captain Shelby?
Oh, he's
You know
great.
that guy, right?
He's one of the best. He's awesome. He is fantastic. He has a great mustache.
I think he doesn't know that the contest is over. Because he's still working on it.
He's still growing his. Yeah, no doubt.
He is. So there we go. I mean, that's a cross section, and some of those definitions, impromptu definitions, were probably close.
Yeah, there's some good ones
had
there.
an element of accuracy, but Chief, let me start with you, Chief
Yeah.
Latimer. So how do you define servant leadership as separate or distinct from what the average person might say?
Yeah, we try to keep things simple. That's one of the things that we try to lead by is just keeping things simple, doing the right thing. And so when looking at servant leadership, we try to boil it down so it's something that we can, live by, but also teach out. And it was just putting others above self, just those 3 words, others above self. And so we actually have it on our challenge coin. We put it everywhere we do. It's in our mission statement. And so it's just putting others above self. It's really simple. So in everything, every relationship, every situation is just thinking, how can I put the other person ahead of myself and serving them?
And how would you say there's an important distinction there that you would say that separates it from how the average person might describe it?
Correct. It's putting it into action. That's the difference. And so when you go to these conferences and these classes or what we're talking about, you hear it all the time, and people even say, well, I'm a servant leader. And I go, okay, well, show me how, because it's in the action. It's what you do with servant leadership, how you put it into action. And that's something Shannon and myself and our leadership teams try to really do.
Why? Why did you say, of all the things that people would think a fire department would focus on, safety, technical expertise, right, timeliness, or team building, why did servant leadership rise to the top, and why did you decide, no, this needs to be paramount?
Yeah, I'll let Chief Langford answer that.
Oh, it all boils down to getting the right culture, and the right culture comes with getting the right heart and the right feelings about why you're doing something. And it's not just that cliche of I'm just got into this business to help people. I think all of us did that, but it's just just trying to have your heart in the right place to serve others truly, and not just for show.
And you feel like that had to come first?
That had to come first, correct.
Yeah, and like Chief Langford, I've brought up before in other conversations and things we've talked about with servant leadership is 4 years ago, Chief Langford comes to Farmers Branch. We're in a dark time in our fire department.
There was a transition.
Definitely transition happening, in that time. And then one of those things that grew up underneath servant leadership in the faith-based community and teaching to my parents and grandparents. And one of those things I knew and studied and lived out, but then there'd come a time where, you get sidetracked as your mission becomes, getting the task done. And that's where Chief Langford comes in, enters in the scene and goes, hey, I've done this for, over 27 years. It's about the people. We need to really be focusing on the relationships and the people here. It's just one of those things that kind of snapped me out of it as, one of my accountability partners and kept me challenged as a chief.
Was there a moment when the light bulb went off and you said, wait a minute, we need to change our priorities here?
Definitely. When
Do you remember that?
Oh, I definitely remember that. Is being at the bottom of a dark pit, sitting there and realizing there was no way out. Our department, we had people leaving and people were upset, and there was just no way.
Hard to recruit.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was very hard to recruit, hard to retain, and we had to just look at ourselves. That's the first thing Chief Langford and us both had to do as the 2 leaders over operations in our department and prevention as well, and go, okay, what are we doing? What's the purpose? Well, why are we here for? And it started with self, and that's where humility came in. For both of us had to have some hard conversations with ourselves and with others, and then it just became about people. Everything else, we could put everything else aside, and we had to focus on the person we were serving. So it started with the person, like Chief Langford said. It was about the heart.
And how did you go about implementing it? So it, like you just said, it's important. It's important to talk about, but it's more important to actually put it into action.
Right.
So Chief Langford, what did that look like?
Well, we pretty much stripped everything away and started with our policies changing, our promotional process changed, our hiring process changed to all incorporate servant leadership. Then later on, we changed our mission statement and our vision statement and our core values to all lead towards that and lead to that key piece of being humble and leading with humility. And I think once you show your employees that you're willing to be humble and admit that you're wrong about something, and then if you are wrong about something, you will change whatever that is, whether it be a policy or whatever. You won't just dig your heels in and be arrogant to where you created those policies, you're not going to change it. If we see a policy we create and it's not working, our employees know that we will change that.
Did you, for your fellow firefighters who are already part of the department, did you get some pushback? Did anyone say, this sounds good, but it's not really, doesn't need to be our most important principle?
I think there was some skepticism. They felt like it was a cliche. And I think once they saw that we were willing to do that ourselves and we were willing to humble ourselves, that allowed them to open the door for them to be different themselves.
100%. There's a moment, I can remember being in the hallway with one of our battalion chiefs, and he had been one of my captains of battalion chiefs at a time, and his thing was like, stop talking to us about it and just put it into action. That's kind of where that whole thing came into play. And it was like, okay, hey, we're going to stop talking.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah, and we're just going to put it into action. So it took us a while, because it was one of these things like, oh yeah, let's see. But then we changed the way we see things. So with servant leadership and putting it into action, part of it was we didn't see problems anymore, we saw opportunities. So every time something came up, we would just remind ourselves like, hey, we're in charge of this thing, we can change it.
Right.
So every problem that came up, it just created opportunity, and it just changed the way our perspective about things.
What was the hardest part? Was there one piece that was harder to change than the rest?
Yourself. That's it, is letting go of everything that you've been told about what leadership is, and just like letting go of everything, and then starting with humility. And it really started with that. That was the hardest thing.
That seems like when I think about it in the context of a fire department, I mean, that is you got to have some hubris. You got to have some self-confidence and some swagger to even be a firefighter to begin with, right? Yeah. So these are not timid people, and these are not people who are prone to be humble necessarily. So this sounds like almost counterintuitive from what people know or expect in a fire department.
Yeah, and
is that fair?
That is very fair. And like Chief Langford already stated, we put it in through all our policies, like he talked about, our promotions. And so once we saw you're getting graded, part of your promotion was on servant leadership, and he gave items out. This is what servant leadership looks like. And so all of a sudden you could see that, like, I could lose a promotion if I'm worried about myself over the department.
And so in that time, and it's only been really a couple years now since this.
About right at 3.
Right, 3 years. Yeah.
So you've had enough time now to see what kind of difference has it made between now and then?
Not a day. We went from having a tough time, like Chief Latimer stated, recruiting people and even retaining people at one point, to going to now we have people being referred by our employees, and that's our biggest reward, is having our employees refer people, because this is a great place to work. And what we often tell people in an interview, I recommend you go talk to our guys at the station, stop by all the stations and ask them how they feel it is here in Farmers Branch. And I feel like that they would find a very, very few people that would say anything at all that we could change compared to where we were a few years ago.
So your own guys, your own men and women in the fire department are kind of your best recruiting tool.
They are our greatest tool.
They're our best tool.
Absolutely.
As I was saying, we get to be the ones up here speaking, right? Representing the fire department, but it took our whole team.
Oh yeah.
It took us, the leaders having to, put others above self and start that, but it's our whole team. I mean, it's every single one of us are out there trying to serve each other, serve our city, our coworkers, and just really putting others above self in every situation we go into.
And this might be a stretch, and you might not really know this. I'm just curious if you've thought about this and whether or not what you've done and the process you went through from the ground up, from your hiring process, promotion process, et cetera, if that could be implemented even outside a fire department, even outside a city government. I mean, we're all city employees, but what about a private organization or a faith-based or a nonprofit?
Yeah, it's able to be, it's transferred to any way of life for sure, any organization, any business. And we've seen our city just do this. They're recently releasing our personnel manual. They've actually put servant leadership in there now from our city personnel manual, because they see how good it's worked in the fire department. And so they're like tying into that as well. And we're making this whole thing as a city, as we both know and all of us know here. And so it's starting to ripple out. And that's the thing, is it just takes time. It takes time. It's like a garden. It's going to take time to grow. It's not going to grow overnight. You just got to be patient with it.
Right. Well, anything that's important, it does take time, and you've got to tend to it, like a garden metaphor. So what would you say for people who are listening to this, who may be outside, not work in a fire department, maybe they don't even work in a municipal government? What are the takeaways here that you would say people need to keep in mind if they want to develop this kind of cornerstone of the culture that is servant leadership as opposed to what they've been doing?
I'll take the first one. The first one is it starts with the leader. I mean,
starts at the top.
It starts at the top. I mean, it had to take me, I literally had to go before our fire department and ask for forgiveness for some decisions that administration and myself had made that we realized were brought to our attention by operations and our firefighters. And it started with the leader. It started with me having to humble myself and show them, hey, this is what servant leadership is like in action, and letting go of this whole title and what this whole chief thing means, you know. That's the first thing.
And then there was a piece about putting it into action too.
Correct. Right? Yeah, you have to put it into action. They have to be able to see that you're actually buying into your own.
It's not just a motto.
Leadership. It's not just a cliche, like you stated. They want to see that you're willing to give what you're wanting from them, and that you're not skipping out on any of that as far as of what you're expecting from them, and you don't truly live that lifestyle yourself.
So you hold yourself accountable, the leaders.
Correct. Yes.
And there's I know you mentioned too the coins and the badge you carry has the servant leadership concept, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. So like even we have, every member has a badge and it has our mission statement, our vision statement that talks about servant leadership and putting others above self. Like we talked about, that's what it means to us, is to put others above self in every situation, every relationship. And then we have the traits of what a servant leader is in Farmers Branch, as a Farmers Branch member of the fire department, and then the core values. And so everything comes back to humility and family and love and balance and grace. So all these things make that up. So we have it everywhere. I mean, it's like our challenge coin we carry. It's in our walls and our stations.
Well, and to make it such an integral part of how you hire people, in other words, what you're looking for, that
100%.
potential, and how you promote people within the department. I mean, would you say that those are the most important pieces? Because that really sends a message.
Definitely. Like Chief Langford said, it's about the people. I mean, it really is. It's about the people. You know, Captain Shelby even said that. It's decentralizing everything from the top and realizing that we can't all do it on our own, and then being able to serve those, you know, and how can I remove the blocks in front of them, the roadblocks in front of them to make their pathway easier for them. And just look down and serve, and then the next guy does the next guy, and the next guy to the next guy, and then before you know it, the whole team's serving each other.
Right.
So,
one kind of mission.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
the first point was start with a leader.
Yep.
And then the second, put it into action. And what do you mean by this third one?
It's just kind of like you said, it's the garden, right? It takes time. You got to control the climate. You're gonna have to sit there and grow the culture. And so that's one of the things that we realize, you know, both of us, I would say, are impatient people because we both want things to go. Let's go.
Right
let's go.
away.
Let's right away. But it's one of those things that we've had to learn through that in our faith as well. But just for ourselves, but then for the whole organization, is that it takes time. You know, and it's one of these things, just like the garden we were talking about, and that you got to pull out weeds. There's gonna be times where weeds grow up. You can't put your head in the sand. You can't be an ostrich leader, right? We got to sit there and go after those weeds and pull those out. We got to control the climate. There's gonna be times it needs water. There's times it needs sun, and it just takes time to grow that culture. And then what the beautiful thing is when you start to see that thing grow, right? And that's what we're getting to see right now. We're still working. We're still gonna be working. It's always in the action. It's always there, but we're getting to see the fruits of our labor, which is really awesome.
You're never done.
No, never done.
You're never done.
Never done.
And that's part of the culture. You know, it's continuous because you have new people coming into the organization.
Yeah, exactly.
And some people leaving. So just through retirement and attrition. So I'm sure it has to be a constant emphasis.
It's just like a garden. You're always working.
So you get to hold each other accountable.
That's been the
right?
Always pushing this, having that difficult. Part of the servant leadership is having the difficult conversation. You know, I'll say our HR director that we both know, Yoko. One thing is that she gave me as she got here. She's just kind of, you know, assessing what we're doing in the fire department and being intrigued and watching. And she said, hey, you need to be sure you have advocates, not cheerleaders, right? Because she said you're going to burn
advocates, not cheerleaders.
Advocates, not cheerleaders.
So what's the difference?
The difference is the cheerleaders will always be on the sidelines cheering you on, letting you do the work. The advocate's going to be working with you, right? So that way you can get more done. Yeah. And so that's something we've learned, because you will burn out if you try to do it yourself as a servant leader. And then there's a difference between servant leader and being a slave. And that's what we talk about is, okay, we're not going to say yes to everything. That's not a servant leader. Because it's about making the right decision, right? You know what's best for the organization, not just for that one person.
Right. So it starts with a leader.
Yeah.
You got to make it real.
Yes, sir.
And you got to give it time and build the culture.
That's it, man. Right. Put it in everything you do. Every day. You have to be consistent.
Right. Yeah. And that's hard. I mean, that's not easy to do.
Oh no, because we're human and we like to screw things up. Yeah.
Right. We all get lazy.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe y'all don't, but I tend to get lazy.
Shannon does not have any laziness in him, but
he might beg to differ.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks guys for joining us, Chief Langford and Chief Latimer. Thanks for coming in
Hey, thank you so much,
to
Jen.
our
We appreciate
Farmers
it.
Branch studio. This has been a lot of fun. Clearly, we've only scratched the surface of this topic.
Yes.
This is a big topic, and when you come back maybe in a few weeks or next year, you might have more to say about what you've learned about servant leadership.
We love talking.
But again, just to remind those 3 takeaways for anyone and everyone who's listening, when we're talking about servant leadership in an organization, it starts with the leader. You've got to make it real by implementing it with real policies and procedures. And lastly, you have to give it time. Because it takes time to grow, and if you create the culture that is appropriate, then that servant leadership will definitely grow. So thanks for checking out Branching Out. Again, this is a new podcast of ideas and solutions for city managers and leaders everywhere. And we tackle big topics that are proven and practical suggestions that you can use today. From Farmers Branch, I'm Jeff Brady. Thank you for joining us, and keep branching out.